And those questions are going to need to be, Michael, based on science, right? In the last week, we've ticked off, we did this at the top of the show, at least 4 mass flooding events that our climate unit here describe as 1,000-year flood events. So when you look at that and the very smart questions that were just raised by Lewis, tell us what is going on here.
First today at noon, dangerous flooding in the Tar Heel State. Rescues continue in central North Carolina after the remnants of Tropical Storm Chantal brought a 500 to 1,000-year flood to several counties in the state. The devastating flooding leading to dozens of rescues, with about 80 people being brought to safety by boat. A search, though, currently underway for 2 missing kayakers.
In a matter of hours, Tropical Depression Chantal dropped inches of rain across the triangle. You've seen the images causing major destruction here. Now North Carolina climatologists are studying its course and say North Carolinians may need to watch out for more storms like it. WRAL's Heidi Kirk explains the changing weather patterns and how you can prepare for the next tropical storm.
It's a storm that rolled in over a holiday weekend, breaking dams, cresting rivers, and flooding roads, homes, and businesses. It's also the type of storm that climatologists say North Carolinians may need to watch out for.
I think what we've learned from Chantal is that no matter how strong a storm is, what its winds look like, even what it's classified as, we can see this threat of heavy rain anywhere in the state from any sort of tropical system.
Climatologist Corey Davis says tropical systems are changing. In North Carolina, we're seeing more with characteristics of severe thunderstorms, dropping excessive rain in unexpected places.
So what was so surprising with this storm is that not only did it end up bringing big rainfall totals, but those totals came very far inland, hundreds of miles away from the coast, where even in some of our big hurricanes, we haven't really seen amounts like that.
Now, in the past, you may not have paid too much attention to any of these tropical systems, but Davis said now you might want to, knowing the type of damage that they can cause. WRAL meteorologist Kat Campbell says we've already surpassed the number of damage reports in the Triangle from last year.
Last year, we had 568 reports of damage. This year, we're only just over halfway through the year, and we've already surpassed that number. We've had 574 reports of damage.
That's a trend that's being seen in other places. Just this week, Texas and New Mexico also recovering from damage caused by flooding.
A father and 2 children have been swept away by flash flooding in New Mexico. An emergency has been declared after the Ruidoso River rose 15 feet in under an hour.
And we just have some breaking news out of New Mexico now. The National Weather Service is reporting a flash flooding event in that state. They say homes are being swept away with water levels along a river in Ruidoso rising fast, calling it a dangerous situation. The Office of Emergency Management in Ruidoso is also urging people near Rio Ruidoso, so the river, to move to higher ground immediately and avoid driving through flooded roadways. We'll try to bring you an update on that as soon as we get some pictures of what's happening there in New Mexico.
At least 400 people have been evacuated from their homes as wildfires rage on the outer edge of the French city of Marseille. More than 100 people suffered minor injuries, and residents had been warned to stay indoors unless instructed to leave, so that roads would be clear for emergency vehicles. Local authorities said the blaze was sparked by a car that caught fire on the motorway. The governor of the U.S. state of Texas says more than 160 people are still missing after Friday's flash floods. He said that figure was for Kerr County alone, where at least 111 people have died. The neighboring state of New Mexico has now also been affected, with 3 people unaccounted for so far.
So right now we're just waiting to see how long that could last. But at the update that they gave yesterday, they said the city only had 2 days of drinking water, and they said this issue could really go on for a couple of days. So just another impact from Tropical Storm Chantal. Now, looking forward, let's take a look at who's going to be impacted next by weather along this region. And really, it's kind of most of the East Coast. As we take a look at some video out of D.C. from yesterday, today that area, they are under a level 1 out of 4 flood risk. But in this video, again, this was taken Wednesday evening. You can see their street right there there that just became a river as cars drove through it. There were numerous flood reports across the I-95 corridor from DC to New York City. There were also a few tornado warnings in Delaware. So again, they have that 1 out of 4 flood risk. That includes DC, but for those of us in parts of Virginia, here in North Carolina, and then parts of South Carolina, we are under a level 2 out of 4 flood risk, and we're also under a flood watch until 2 a.m. on Friday. Guys?
A mess left in Chantal's wake.
Homes destroyed, businesses impaired, and worst of all, lives lost.
And it's left in the hands of communities impacted.
These storms, the immediate response is always local. It's the local sheriff, it's the local police, it's their emergency management crews, and they are in regular communication, practically hourly communication with our folks at emergency management.
The local nature of the storm didn't warrant a statewide state of emergency declaration. That's normal, and emergency management leaders say that's the way storm responses are designed to work.
We have some state declaration programs that we can turn on that are based on damage assessments locally, and so those are things that we're going to assess right now.
But still, local communities often need state or federal help. Governor Josh Stein says the state will offer any and all resources, but he is concerned about the future on the federal side.
Funding concerns with the federal government, a lot of our emergency management personnel is paid for from federal funding. We've been working hard to secure that funding so we don't experience widespread layoffs.
To account for any lapses there, the governor says the state needs to be financially able to fend for itself.
I'm concerned that the General Assembly has not yet passed a budget. We're working off of last year's budget. We need a new budget that will make sure that our state emergency management is well funded.
So when you look at that and the very smart questions that were just raised by Lewis, tell us what is going on here. What does the science tell us about what the future holds?
Yeah, there's no question that climate change is an exacerbating factor here. Yes, there are a whole bunch of things that came together, but climate change has made these events worse. It's made them more deadly. And at some level, it's actually really simple. It's simple physics that tells us you warm up the planet, you warm up the oceans 2 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what they've warmed up so far. You put about 7% more moisture in the atmosphere. So when you get rainfall, you get that much more rainfall. But that's just part of it. It turns out the increase can be much greater than that, not just 7%, but 20, 30%, because of the fact that you get more powerful storms that entrain more moisture into the air. And so there's that factor alone. And then on top of that, these weather systems are increasingly likely to become stalled. They just sit in the same location day after day. Our own research suggests that that too is a pattern that is being favored by human-caused warming. And so you put it all together, you get these extreme flooding events, and even worse, we're seeing extremes on both sides of the spectrum. So one summer, extremely dry, drought, wildfires. The next summer, huge amounts of rainfall. And then you get these compound events where, for example, because the ground is so parched, it can't absorb the water that's coming down, and so it funnels more water into these rivers and you get worse flooding. A whole bunch of things that came together, climate change playing a role in each one of those.